If you are a teenager right now, listen to me carefully. I am 75 years old, and if I could go back to being 15 again, I would change so many things in my life. When I was young, I thought my parents were too strict. I thought they worried too much, and I believed they did not understand me. Every time my mother told me to come home early or focus on my future, I got angry. I rolled my eyes, slammed doors, and ignored her advice because I thought my friends were more important than family. At 15 years old, your friends feel like your whole world. You care about fitting in, looking cool, wearing nice clothes, and getting attention from people. That was exactly how I was. I wanted freedom more than anything. I wanted to grow up fast because being an adult looked exciting to me. I thought adults had freedom, money, happiness, and no rules. I did not understand how difficult life really becomes later. I remember one night when I was 16 years old. There was a party, and everybody from school was going. My mother stood near the front door and asked me not to stay out late because she had a bad feeling. I laughed at her and told her she worried too much. I thought she was trying to ruin my fun. At the party, there was loud music, people dancing, everybody laughing, and for a few hours I felt important. I felt like I finally belonged somewhere. But when I came home late that night, my mother was still awake waiting for me on the couch. The whole house was dark, except for the television light. She looked tired because she worked all day, but she still waited for me because she loved me. Instead of appreciating that love, I got annoyed and told her to stop treating me like a child. She looked down quietly and said one sentence that stayed with me forever. She said, "One day, you will understand." At 16 years old, those words meant nothing to me. At 75 years old, those words hurt my heart because now I understand exactly what she meant. Parents worry because they know how painful life can become. Teenagers do not understand that kind of love. Teenagers see rules and limits, but parents see danger and pain that young people cannot see yet. I spent so many years trying to escape my parents because I thought freedom would make me happy. I could not wait to leave home and become independent. Looking back now, that was one of the biggest mistakes of my life, because one day home disappears forever. One day your parents become old and weak. One day the kitchen becomes quiet. One day nobody waits for you anymore when you come home. Nothing prepares you for that silence. When I was younger, I cared too much about what people thought about me. I compared myself to other girls all the time. I wanted to look beautiful and wear the right clothes because I believed attention would make me feel valuable. I wanted people to admire me. But attention is temporary. People compliment you one day and forget you the next. If your happiness depends on attention from others, you will spend your whole life feeling empty inside. I wish I understood that when I was younger. My father tried to teach me that lesson many times. He told me not to chase the wrong things in life, but I ignored him because I thought he was old-fashioned. Now I realize he was trying to protect me from wasting years of my life. At 17 years old, I fell in love for the first time. At least I thought it was love. He told me I was beautiful and special, and because I was young, I believed every word. I made him my whole world. I ignored my family, my school, and my own future because I thought love was all that mattered. That relationship changed me. I slowly stopped being myself because I wanted him to love me more. Young people often do that. They change themselves to keep someone who was never meant to stay forever. When he left me, I felt destroyed. I cried for weeks and thought my life was over. But now I understand something important. I was not heartbroken because I lost him. I was heartbroken because I lost myself, trying to keep someone who did not truly love me. Years passed quickly after that. Life became busy. I started working, paying bills, dealing with stress, relationships, and responsibilities. When you become an adult, The days start moving faster and faster. You wake up early, work all day, come home tired, sleep, and repeat the same routine again. Slowly, I stopped visiting my parents as much because I always believed there would be more time later. Every time my mother asked me to visit, I said maybe next week because I was too busy. That is the biggest lie life tells us. We always think there will be more time later. One day later becomes impossible. I remember getting a phone call telling me my father was sick. Suddenly, all the small problems I cared about felt meaningless. I sat beside his hospital bed, looking at his hands, and realized those were the same hands that protected me when I was little. For the first time in my life, I became afraid of time, because time was taking away the people I loved. My father looked weak and tired. I realized parents spend their whole lives protecting their children. But eventually, children must watch their parents become fragile. Nothing prepares you for that pain. After he passed away, the world kept moving normally, but my world felt frozen. Cars still drove outside. People still laughed. Stores still opened every morning. But inside me there was only regret. I remembered every moment I ignored him, every time I chose strangers over family, every time I acted annoyed when he tried to give me advice. Life moves so fast that you do not notice time disappearing until suddenly many years are gone. At 75 years old, life feels like 5 minutes. I still remember being 16 years old, arguing with my mother like it happened yesterday. Now I look in the mirror and see wrinkles, grey hair, and tired eyes. Time moves quietly. That is why people waste it so easily. Young people believe life lasts forever, but one day you wake up old and wonder where all the years went. When I was younger, I thought becoming older would solve everything. I thought adults had all the answers. I thought one day I would wake up happy, confident, successful, and complete. But life does not work like that. Most people are just trying to survive quietly. Most adults are still scared inside. They just become better at hiding it. I spent many years pretending I was okay when I was actually lost. I smiled in front of people while feeling empty inside. That is another thing nobody tells teenagers. Growing up is not becoming perfect. Growing up is learning how to carry pain without letting it destroy you. There were years in my life when I felt completely alone, even when surrounded by people. I had friends, co-workers, relationships, conversations, but deep inside I felt disconnected from everyone. Social media did not exist when I was young, but people still compared themselves to others every day. Someone always looked prettier, happier, richer, more successful. Comparison steals happiness from people slowly. It makes you believe your own life is not enough. I wasted years comparing my life to others instead of appreciating what I already had. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one night in my 40s after a long day of work. The house was quiet. I looked around and suddenly realized how fast life had moved. The little girl who once argued with her mother was now becoming old herself. My parents had grey hair. My body felt tired more often. My face slowly changed. I remember touching the wrinkles near my eyes for the first time and feeling afraid. Young people think aging happens suddenly, but it does not. It happens quietly, little by little, every year, until one day you realize you are no longer young. One of the saddest things about life is that people only truly appreciate moments after they become memories. When I was younger, I thought ordinary days were boring. Eating dinner with family felt normal. Hearing my parents talk in the other room felt ordinary. Even hearing someone call my name from the kitchen felt ordinary. But now I would give anything to experience one more normal day like that again. That is why I tell young people not to rush through life. Right now, you are living moments that one day you will miss deeply. I also learned that not everybody who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people come into your life only to teach you lessons. Some teach you love. Some teach you pain. Some teach you strength. When I was younger, I took every goodbye personally. I thought if somebody left, it meant I was not good enough. But now I understand that people leave for many reasons. Sometimes life simply pulls people in different directions. You cannot destroy yourself trying to keep everyone forever. There were moments in my life when I lost hope completely. Moments when I felt tired of fighting. There were nights I cried alone because I felt like nobody understood me. I know many teenagers feel that way too. You feel pressure from school, friends, family, expectations, and your own thoughts. Sometimes it feels like the whole world is watching you. But listen carefully to me. Most things you are worried about today will not matter years from now. The embarrassing moments, the opinions of strangers, the mistakes you made, most of them disappear with time. Do not destroy your peace over temporary problems. One thing I regret deeply is how much time I spent being angry. Angry at people, angry at myself, angry at life. I held grudges for years because I thought forgiving people meant they won. But anger is heavy. It follows you everywhere. Forgiveness is not about letting others escape responsibility. Forgiveness is about freeing your own heart from carrying pain forever. I wish I learned that lesson earlier, because anger stole many peaceful years from my life. I also wish I spent less time being afraid. Fear controls so many people. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking stupid, fear of not being good enough. Some people spend their entire lives hiding from opportunities because they are scared. I did that too many times. There were dreams I never chased because I doubted myself. Now, at 75 years old, I realize failure is not the scariest thing in life. Regret is. Wondering what could have happened if you tried is much more painful than failing. Another thing nobody tells young people is how important health becomes later in life. When you are young, you think your body will stay strong forever. You stay awake all night, ignore stress, eat badly, and think nothing will happen. But your body remembers everything. As you grow older, you start understanding how precious simple things are. Walking without pain becomes a blessing. Sleeping peacefully becomes a blessing. Breathing easily becomes a blessing. Health is something people ignore until they begin losing it. At 75 years old, I no longer care about expensive things. I do not care about impressing anybody anymore. I do not care about looking perfect. The things that matter to me now are simple. Peace, quiet mornings, good memories, family, love, honest conversations, time. Time becomes the most valuable thing in the world because you finally understand it cannot be replaced. Money returns, objects return, opportunities sometimes return, time never returns. If I could sit beside my younger self for 1 hour, I would tell her to slow down. I would tell her to stop being so cruel to herself. I would tell her not to waste years chasing approval from people who do not truly care. I would tell her to hug her parents longer. I would tell her to take more pictures. I would tell her not to be ashamed of her emotions. I would tell her that life is much shorter than she thinks. The truth is, nobody feels ready for life. Even at 75 years old, there are moments when I still feel like that scared young girl trying to figure everything out. Life does not suddenly become easy. You just become stronger. You survive things you once thought would destroy you. You learn how to continue even after heartbreak, loss, disappointment, and pain. If I could sit beside my younger self for 1 hour, I would tell her to slow down. I would tell her to stop being so cruel to herself. I would tell her not to waste years chasing approval from people who do not truly care. I would tell her to hug her parents longer. I would tell her to take more pictures. I would tell her not to be ashamed of her emotions. I would tell her that life is much shorter than she thinks. The truth is, nobody feels ready for life. Even at 75 years old, there are moments when I still feel like that scared young girl trying to figure everything out. Life does not suddenly become easy. You just become stronger. You survive things you once thought would destroy you. You learn how to continue even after heartbreak, loss, disappointment, and pain. So if you are listening to me right now as a teenager, please understand this. Your life is not ending because of one mistake. One heartbreak will not destroy your future. One bad year does not define your entire story. Be patient with yourself. Some chapters of life feel painful because they are teaching you something important. And please do not ignore the people who truly love you. One day, their voices become memories. One day, their advice becomes wisdom you finally understand too late. I know freedom feels exciting when you are young, but do not confuse freedom with pushing away the people who care about you. Real love is rare in this world. Protect it while you still have it. Now, when I sit quietly in this old house and look at the photographs on the walls, I realize life was never really about becoming perfect. It was about moments. Tiny moments that seemed ordinary at the time. Family dinners, car rides, late-night talks, laughter from another room, a parent waiting awake for you to come home safely. Those moments become priceless later. If you are young right now, please spend time with your parents while you still can. Take pictures with them. Tell them you love them. Stop trying so hard to impress people who probably will not even remember you years from now. Protect your peace and enjoy the small moments, because one day, those small moments become the memories you miss the most. At 75 years old, I finally understand what my parents were trying to teach me my whole life. I just wish I understood it sooner. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and leave a like, because maybe this video can help someone before it is too late.